All right, yay, we made it to week 4. Welcome to the week 4 presentation. After this week, we are a quarter of the way done with the semester. How does that feel? Feels pretty good. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to do this week. First thing, just a few updates. If you read my announcement that was posted this past weekend, you'll already know all of this. The first thing is I feel like a lot of times students aren't checking their the discussion boards for my posts. Know that I am taking a lot of time to try to teach you in every place that I can. And so when I am posting on the discussion boards, a lot of times I need you to be looking at that. Sometimes I'm changing the conversation into a different direction. I'm wanting you to focus on something different, or I'm synthesizing what I'm seeing you do and then asking follow-up questions. Sometimes, actually this past week, I gave you a link of an article to look at and then maybe start responding to. I also redirected because you didn't get the whole thesis of one of the articles. And then I actually even recorded videos where I talked through my annotated copy. So there was a lot there that I feel like maybe 5 of you looked at, and I think I got 1 response. So in general, it's not that I'm feeling ignored, even though that is true. It's to your benefit to look at that stuff. So I think it's important that you realize that when I post, it matters. So you should probably be checking for those. Also, related to that, on the right side of the screen, you should be looking at my announcements. I did kind of just wanted to see how many people are reading what I'm posting. And I will say that as of today, I think I've gotten about 6 emails from students. But I asked you at the end of that announcement to email me. And like I said, 6 people. It's not a very good track record considering there's 24 of you. So if I post an announcement, you should probably check there every time you log on to see what I've posted. I post all sorts of stuff. Infinity also posted some things, and I'm thinking you're ignoring her too. So I think it's important that you are checking the announcements and reading my posts. Okay, the last thing on updates is that when you are posting on the discussion board, you know your initial post is due Wednesday night. And then on Friday night, you need to have made sure that you've replied to 3 people on those public boards. So Serial and the mentor text, things like that. So one of the things that I want to make sure that you understand, not only am I going to start grading your post and your replies with a rubric this week, but one of the other expectations is that when someone posts on your board replying to your post, it is expected that you respond to them, and that does not count as one of your 3 replies. You should be engaging with 3 other students on their posts, but then you should really be responding to the people that took the time to read your post and ask you questions or respond to what you said. It's just good etiquette. So I am expecting that you're doing that, and that will be scored in your post grade, that you are actually reading the replies and responding to the people that are writing to you. Okay, I think I'm done with updates, other than maybe on a positive note, is just to tell you how awesome I think you guys are and what a wonderful job most of you are doing in general. Like I posted in the announcement section over the weekend, your compassion to the authors and to each other was just fantastic last week. So thank you. Keep that up. I loved it. Okay, so for this week, part 1, the first thing, and one of the students, one of you guys asked me this past week, you said something like you're feeling like this online course is based on a 2-day-a-week, like 2-hour class. And I said, yeah, it was. And I did go over that in the initial orientation video. Yes, I am adapting a face-to-face course into an online setting. And I am keeping that structure of 2 classes a week. That's why there's a part 1 and a part 2. Just make sure you're not waiting to the last minute to look to see what's in part 2, because sometimes those assignments are looking rushed. So on Monday, make sure you're looking at everything you have to do for the week. Okay, the first thing is Serial. No surprise, episode 4. The only thing different this week, in addition to listening to the episode and posting on the discussion board, your first curiosity quest is due. So if you have any questions about what you're supposed to be doing, I have link the directions here. Don't forget, I did have a sample of a Curiosity Quest. I believe it was in last week's stuff, so just check back there. But if you have any questions, make sure you ask. You have 3 Curiosity Quests due this semester. The first one is this week. You have another one due week 8, and the last one due week 12. So have fun with that. I can't wait to see what you research and what you find. Okay. Next, because in our face-to-face class we were still talking about acts, during episode 4, I wanted to show you the acts that are broken down for episode 4, inconsistencies. You might want to refer back to these after you listen to the episode, but basically the police start looking into Adnan after an anonymous caller. That's Act 1. Act 2, they use the cell log to become a map that leads them straight to Adnan. Act 3, you get to hear Jen's statements and then Jay's statements. Act 4, Adnan is arrested. Act 5, Adnan described his relationship with Jay. Next, you get Jay's statements, and finally, all the shifty parts of Jay's story. So there you go, the acts for episode 4. Okay. The big learning content piece this week is on the so what. Last week you had tons of content in that you learned about satellite writing, you learned about description, dialogue, and tense. The last piece of the personal narrative content is the so what. Remember, that's the thesis of the personal narrative. It is the question that you want to answer at the end of your narrative. So now that you've told it, so what? What matters about that? Remember, the point of the so what in asking it, or I guess calling it that, is that your reader should be able to say, so what? Oh yeah, I see. It should be an oh, I see answer, not a so what. You don't want them to say, you know what, I just don't care. And that is your job as a writer, to make the story a well-told story. So at the end, they say, oh, I see. Okay? And so that's what we call the thesis of our personal narrative, a so what. And that's why, again, we want it towards the end. Most of your mentor text, the thesis has been at the end. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is, you can see there is something called a so what packet, where I have pulled a couple, I think there's 5 essays in there that you're going to read. It says here, you can see the first document on the so what subfolder is the so what packet revised with paragraph numbers. It's because we're in an online setting, and in order to talk about the essays, it's really important we're all on the same paragraph number. So I went in and added a text box of paragraph numbers in this document for this class, so you can use that first. You need to read them all first. There are 5, so download the so what packet and read the 5 essays. On the voice thread, it does tell you what you should be doing while you're reading the 5. So I don't know how well you can see the slide on the bottom right, but that is what you're supposed to be doing. You want to basically find the so what. Where is it in the essay? Does it work? Is it effective? Is it effective where it is? Is it effective how it's said? So you're looking at placement and overall impact of the so what in general. Okay, so read the essays, find the so what, think about placement and effectiveness. All right, and then you're going to log on to the VoiceThread presentation, and you're going to watch it. Don't forget, it's interactive. I've also gone through the so what for each of these essays, and it's interspersed with what I'm asking you to do. So it's another interactive VoiceThread to make sure you're understanding the importance of the so what. Okay, so enjoy this part. I think what I like best about the so what packet is that we did not pull 5 wonderful examples. There are a couple good ones and a couple really bad ones in there. And I think that you can learn just as much from people doing this well as you can from people who don't do it well. So hopefully you'll enjoy that and get a lot out of it, and it'll help your narrative. I would suggest when you're done learning about the so what and finding the so what in all of these essays, I think it would be important for you to do some satellite writing on your own about your so what. Really think about what it is, boil it down. I do talk about this in the presentation, but there's a difference between a moral and a thesis. Right? You're not Aesop. You're not writing a moral. I don't want to hear slow and steady wins the race. I don't want to hear that. I don't get all global and Aesop fable on me. Keep your so what grounded in your text about what you learned. That's the so what. Be careful. We're not writing morals. Okay. Next, you're going to be working online a lot this week with videos, and one of my favorite is Andrew Stanton's TED Talk, Clues to a Great Story. I will tell you, as far as his delivery, it's not the best. He reads the teleprompters too much, and I think he should have practiced a little bit more, but what he's actually saying is fantastic. He is the head of Pixar. He was in charge of WALL-E and A Bug's Life, and I think the Finding Nemo also. I think he did that one too. And so he talks about how to tell a well-told story, and it's a fantastic TED Talk. So listen, enjoy it. Try to ignore the fact that he's reading a lot of it off of teleprompters, and take notes. What are you learning from it? Then you're going to see that there is a Word document. It's called Stanton's Story List. You should pull that up, and I want you to answer those questions, and you're actually going to put that on a discussion board, Clues to a Great Story. So you're just going to answer the questions that are on the worksheet about your personal narrative in the discussion board. All of that's online. It should make sense when you get there. Enjoy the TED Talk. I think you're going to learn a lot and really like it. All right, that brings us to part 2. The first thing you're going to do is actually my favorite thing in the personal narrative. I love this last part. So usually what students say at this point is that most of the mentor texts have been really sad. They've been about tragedies in people's lives or really hard things they've overcome. And while that is still true about these two, what you're going to notice is a little bit of difference. These have humor. And so you can tell about really sad and tragic things and have a sense of humor about it. And so that's what these two authors do so well. And I just thought it was a nice counterpoint to a lot of the real heaviness of the text we've been reading. So the first one is called Oreo Relapse. It's from the Moth Radio Hour. It is just an audio. So click on the link and listen to Oreo Relapse. I think you're going to love it. Pay attention to how it's a well-told story. So you're thinking about the inclusion of dialogue, of controlling time, of description, and the so what. Pay attention to how the story is a well-told story. Take notes as you're listening. You might have to listen to it more than once because you are going to complete a mentor text discussion board answering all of those questions. So make sure you're familiar with it, but you're going to enjoy the heck out of it anyway. So I think twice is not such a bad thing. All right, and then you're going to listen to one of my favorite well, I love Neil Gaiman. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's written some wonderful books. One of my favorites is one I've read with my son. It's called The Graveyard Book. I loved that book. We had the best time reading that together. But he's a fantastic writer, and he did a Moth Radio Hour, but they actually did do a video of him telling the story. It's called Liverpool Street. Do the same thing. Pay attention to how he controls time. Pay attention to description. Pay attention to dialogue. Pay attention to that narrative arc. How does he make it a well-told story, and what is the so what at the end? So enjoy these. I think you're really going to like them, and then I can't wait to see what you do on the discussion board. Spend some time on this, really think about the way these authors are constructing their stories, and then reflect really on what you can learn from them. Okay, enjoy that. I love that. Can't wait to see what you do with this. All right, next is the draft 2 of your personal narrative. So I gave everyone feedback on their brain dumps. Hopefully you've asked questions if you had any. And it's time to really write draft 2 and make it the best you can possibly make it. Everything you turn on in from here on out should be like the best you can possibly make it at that moment. So as close to what you think as a final draft as possible. You should be incorporating your satellite writing. You did a ton of it last week. So I should see some description in there. I should see dialogue. I should see you controlling time. And because I recommended some satellite writing on your so what, I think I should see some of that too. I should see evidence that you've been working. So I'm excited to see these. You have to turn in a cover letter also. The cover letter needs to detail what you've changed, why you changed it, why you like it, what you're still concerned about. You know what the look-fors are for this assignment. So how are you doing on those? What are you struggling with? What do you need help with? Or what questions do you have? So I need a cover letter that walks me through a metacognitive reflection on everything that you've done with your draft 2. Another thing that I've given you in this subfolder is a link to the grading sheet. It might be a good idea to look, see what you're being graded on. This essay is worth 170 points, and I think it'll be a really good idea for you. Well, actually, on here it says 190 points. Excuse me, I misspoke. So take a look at it. Make sure that you go over what it is that you are being graded on. Okay, and then that's it. So that's all for this week. My favorite Mark Twain quote is here: "The time to begin writing an article, or in our case, a personal narrative, is when you have finished it to your satisfaction. By that time, you begin to clearly and logically perceive what it is you really want to say." All right, have a great week. Happy writing. Please let me know what questions you have, and I can't wait to see your work.